I suggest you study this.
The views and opinions expressed on the Faygoluvers Podcast do not necessarily reflect those of us here at Faygoluvers.net. Some episodes may contain disturbing content. Discretion is advised.
Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, as I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, "tapping at my chamber door? Only this, and nothing more." I distinctly remember. It was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow. Vainly I had sought to borrow from my book surcease of sorrow. Sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore.
Faygoluvers. Faygoluvers. Faygoluvers.
What's up, Juggalos, and welcome to this very special Halloween episode of the Faygoluvers Podcast. Today is October 22nd, 2017. This is episode number 25. I am your homie Roscoe, and I'm going to be your host for this very special Halloween episode of the Faygoluvers Podcast. Ninjas, on this episode, and who better to have as a guest on any musical podcast, it's our homies, 1031. Hell yeah, every day is Halloween. We discuss Mushroomhead, we discuss Halloween, we discuss the Rude Boy, favorite artists, influences, and a whole lot more. Definitely stick around for that interview. And when I say we discuss Halloween, I mean the actual, holiday of Halloween. Not the movies, not the John Carpenter films. Although that would have been dope. We should have discussed that. Also on this episode, our homie of Faygoluvers.net, Punk Rock Juggalo, joins us on the show. We attempt to talk about horror movies, I guess. In the interview, you find out that Punk Rock Juggalo is not the biggest fan of horror movies. But stick around and you can hear all about that. He gives us an update on Kissing Candice, and also some speculation on the 4th Joker's card that is going to be revealed on October 31st, Hallowicked. Also on this episode, you heard it at the very beginning, Intrinsic's reading of Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. I am an Edgar Allan Poe mark. I don't know if you even heard anybody use that terminology before, an Edgar Allan Poe mark, but I'm a huge Edgar Allan Poe fan. If you don't like it, fuck off. He is the shit. We played the same shit on the last Halloween episode of the podcast. That was actually our lowest rated episode, believe it or not. So a lot of ninjas did not hear that shit. So we're playing it again this year. And I actually hit up Intrinsic. We're trying to get him to do his own version of The Night Before Christmas for the Christmas edition of the Faygoluvers Podcast. Shit will be dope. Just a couple of quick news tidbits that I want to get into before we actually get into our new segment. Tech 9 Collabo Strange Rain is now available. That's right, the latest Strange Music collaboration is now available at Best Buy, on the Strange Music online store, and digitally where music is sold. Tech 9 Collabo Strange Rain features the entire Strange Music roster. The deluxe version of the album features 20 fucking songs. Hit up the link in the show notes to see that. ABK has released his latest Orange Black single, and it's available over at the Warrior Spot right now for $3.99. It's entitled Scared of Nothing. Hit up the link in the show notes to get that shit. November 24th is not Record Store Day, but the organizers of Record Store Day are going to be celebrating Black Friday this year. Independently owned stores, especially record stores, are great places to shop for gifts, and the organizers can see this as the perfect way to bring these stores into the spotlight. This is definitely not Record Store Day 2, although there's going to be many Record Store Day exclusives released. Twiztid and ICP are both participating in this with brand new releases, well, sort of brand new releases. Twiztid is going to be releasing a brand new 7-inch hand-numbered green vinyl entitled Ain't Been Right, and that's going to be a Christmas release. Hell yeah. On the A side, you got Ain't Been Right, and on the B side, you have the Twiztid and Blaze holiday classic, Sad Christmas Song. ICP is going to be participating by releasing the Great Malenko 20th Anniversary Edition that day on double LP vinyl. this is going to be the first time that you can hear Malenko on wax. Speaking on ICP, just really quickly, they have released the infomercial for this year's Hallowicked Clown Show. Very dope. We actually went over everybody that's going to be performing and all the information and details on the last episode of the podcast, so we're not going to be talking about that on the news segment. But that commercial is going to be played during our commercial break. Stick around if you want to hear that. And finally, I got to mention this, and we're getting pretty close to the end here, ninjas. Brandon Ward's docu-series 20 and 17, exclusive to Faygolovers.net, has released chapters 11 and 12. Chapter 11 is titled Dark Lotus. Chapter 12 is titled The Sixth. Hit up the link in the show notes to hear that. Brandon Ward is the shit. 20 and 17 is the shit, and I recommend it to anybody that calls himself a ninja. Alright, ninjas. I got a pineapple Faygo, a bunch of these marshmallow stick things, some Tootsie Rolls, and some of these fucking troll candies that taste like shit. Let's do this. I got a bonus question here. Scotty D specifically wanted me to ask you all this question. What do you hate most about your manager, Lisa?
Cry, never let them see you hurt. Even when you dead inside, find a way to make it work. Living on the outside, push it till you in the dirt. Never let them see you die, never let them see you die. Living on the edge, I don't apologize. Past tipsy cause a drunk tongue never lies. Sworn villain and I swear it on my father's eyes. Seeing death around the corner, running out of time. All I wanna do is keep the music live. But they hated on me since the day that I arrived. Underrated by haters and I'm just trying to fly. Wonder why they hate to see a young thug. Cause I'm mad and I'm about to snap, start spazzing on all these cats talking trash. But scared to rap with a master of wicked tracks. Now I'm laughing and counting stacks while you constantly on my sack. Cause all I'm stating is facts. A fucking problem on wax is masters. I ain't feeling too right in my head tonight. Somebody gonna end up dead tonight. Maybe if you listen to the songs I sing, you know why I scream fuck everything. I ain't feeling too right in my head tonight. You hurt somebody gonna end up find a way to make it work. Living on the outside, push it till you in the dirt. Never let us scream fuck everything.
But which one of us is the heart that scares the children? Is it the man that made me?
So I just wanted to bring up this news first because I think it's fucking dope, and it definitely goes along with the Halloween theme of the show. Our homie Scotty D was scrolling along his Facebook feed when he saw something that Project Deadman fans might find interesting. Mikey Clark recently watched Eminem's Cypher to Donald Trump. I'm sure a lot of y'all are familiar with that or have heard about that. It seemed to spark something inside of him. He called for Eminem for president, and then he reached out to Prozac on Twitter saying that it might be time. Specifically, on Twitter, he said, "Fuck yeah, M for Prez now, fuck 2020. And then, maybe in response to somebody, I'm not sure, he said, "Well, just thought the cypher was dope. Dude has got balls. Mad respect. Yo, Prozac, where you at? Might be time. I'm pissed." Oh, shit. Could we be seeing some new PDM material in the future, ninjas?
Is that real?
I'm fed up with gay actors and gay rappers. I'ma start smashing fags and gay.
There's definitely going to come a time on the podcast and on Faygolovers where we don't have to be posting about drama or talking about drama and shit all the time. I don't think we talked about any drama on the last episode of the podcast or the one before that, but it looks like we're going to be on this episode. Here we go. So this has to do with Twiztid's thoughts on the Juggalo merch, which they've been somewhat vocal about. Not really publicly vocal, kind of publicly vocal, but they have been talking to Juggalos. They have been talking to fans about it. During a VIP session on the Most Tasteless tour, a Juggalo recorded his interaction with Madrox and Monoxide, who spoke their feelings on the march. Now, the way that the audio was obtained was pretty shady, and I'm sure that Twiztid did not know that they were being recorded. So it's kind of bullshit that we're even talking about it. But They did address it on their brunch and bake, so because they acknowledged it, I guess we don't feel so bad about acknowledging it. Anyways, that audio was sent over to our homie Child's Play Ninja, who I'm sure a lot of juggalos are familiar with. It was sent directly over to him, and he put it up on YouTube with his own commentary behind it, which was somewhat biased. So I got a state for you ninjas that are going to click the link in the show notes and watch CPN's video. The views and opinions expressed by Child's Play Ninja do not necessarily reflect those of us here at Faygoluvers.net. That being said, we're going to play the secretly recorded audio of this ninja talking to Twiztid backstage. Check it out.
Do you remember back in the days? Do you remember back in the days, fucking Bury Me Alive and all that shit?
Yes.
Back when juggalos didn't give a fuck what people think. Why do we give a fuck what people think? We don't. Dude, it's a fucking lie. It's all a lie. There is no gang list. Okay. There is no gang list.
Never was.
There is no gang list. There is no gang list. It was an assessment.
I was trying to get a picture with all you guys. I mean,
They're trying to sue the FBI for the reason why they were assessed. That's all it was. It was an assessment in 2012. They assessed it. Nothing happened. They were like, okay, you're gone. And it's been that way ever since. They're the only ones perpetuating.
Right.
and so like we had watched the rally, right?
Different intros. A guy that said he would march for gay people that did a song about killing gay people. A guy that said discrimination. A guy that fucking would talk about killing gay people. You know how many family members are gay? You know how many fucking juggalos and juggalettes have gay people? I have gay people in my family. You know how fucking hurt I was when I heard that supervillain song 2 nights ago? I never heard that fucking song in my life. This motherfucker played that song for me 2 nights ago. I heard that racist fucking song, and that motherfucker sat at that podium and talked about fucking being persecuted and bullshit. You fucking hypocrite. You want people to march.
Let me ask you guys, because like I'm telling you this, I got the purple show.
So everything that was supposed to be ended up being hypocrisy. Dude, they used to throw the chicken boy out in the crowd and he became Boondocks. What the fuck are we talking about? We're sorry we tricked you, it's all God? How many times you gotta be fucking hoodwinked, bro? Come on, man. Right. I can't do that to you. I can't do that to you.
And that's what's scary. And that's what's scary. Because I mean, my appendages. First question, AB can't coming over.
No, too much logistics. No. I feel you.
Grundy and Warrior.
No, it's all love.
Into that.
No, it's doing for him. I just thought. Listen. It's all love, and we will do future business, but no coming over because of logistics. Next question.
So there you go, ninjas. Once again, keep in mind that audio was obtained in a very shady way. Not cool. If Twiztid was actually to address their fans or the public to explain their feelings on the march, they probably would have done so in a very different manner, in a very different way. Just keep that in mind when listening to it. This now brings me to the Brunch and Bake, where they basically talk about the audio that we just heard. The Brunch and Bake was about a 25-minute long video, so I cut it down to about 7 minutes just so you guys can hear the best parts. Monoxide and Madrox to really get their point across. Check it out.
Believe me, this is what I know. If we say something, we mean it. That's it. So, whatever that is you guys are talking about, if you're here for a fucking apology or some shit, not gonna get it. Whatever you're talking about, we said, we meant. We meant. I don't even gotta know what he said. I don't even gotta know what I said. But believe me, if I said it, I meant it. Easy as that. Some of you motherfuckers are the kings of making shit out of whatever. Like, it's great that you guys hold us to such a different bar than you hold everybody else. Niggas can put hits out on us and our family and call us all kind of names and try to fuck with our place of business. And then we spit some real shit and we're the bad guys. Fuck you. Fuck you. Nah. We'll be the bad guys then. Everybody knows my opinion on the march. Everybody knows my opinion about everything. So there's nothing else that you guys could hear that would change any of that. But if you're just looking for some shit, there you go. You got it. See ya. See you later. You got it. Just go. That easy. That easy. You just ain't gotta watch no more. You ain't gotta comment no more. You're good, man. You're way better than us. I get it. Do it. Do you. But if that's what you came here looking for, you're not gonna get it. Facts. It's all about facts. I don't give a fuck what any one of them dudes say. Prove it. Prove it. Prove any of it. Prove any of it. Any of it. You can't. That's why you don't see paperwork all online. This happened and this happened and this happened. It's all this. If we could just say shit, check it out. Twiztid, running for president. Running for president. Holy shit. Holy shit. Because the fucking White House said I can. If we're just believing whatever the fuck, and we don't gotta fact check anything, then I'm also going to be the starting point guard for the Boston Celtics. They're about to trade Kyrie Irving from me.
I'm voting for us. I'm voting for us too. Yeah, hell yeah.
That's as real as it gets.
And Twiztid, and we going to Nassau too.
Right. And
and we been to outer space too.
If we can just say shit.
Yep.
We can just say shit.
And we suing Nassau. We suing Nassau because Nassau said all juggalos ain't allowed to go to outer space. So we suing Nassau too. Fuck yeah, Nassau. Quit hating on juggalos, Nassau.
Fucking Nassau. It ain't that serious, y'all. It ain't. I promise you that. I promise you that. And that's for anybody that can prove any of that bullshit. Any of it. That we were not removed from the gang list in 2012 like I know we were. That it was never an investigation, it was an assessment. And the assessment came back that no, they're not a gang. That's fucking fact. Look it up. Look it up. That's what it is. The lawsuit is for information as to why we were put on an assessment list. That's the lawsuit. There. Now, if you could tell me all that other shit, I got my kids taken away. You got your kids taken away probably because you're a piece of shit. You got arrested because you're a fucking gangbanger that happens to have a Hatchet Man sticker. Don't pull that bullshit on me. I know people, I know mad people got investigated by CPS that are horrible people, and they didn't get their kids taken away. So there ain't no motherfucking way anybody got their kids taken away because they're a fucking juggalo. Don't believe the hype. Don't believe the motherfucking hype. Flail all you want. Flail all you want. I'm about to go play a packed show, and where are we?
It doesn't exist. All of those documents do not exist. It is not in the file. That's why no one has shown the goddamn shit, because it don't fucking exist. Quit telling everybody the shit exists. Quit saying you cite the shit when you don't fucking have the shit. Show the shit. Don't cite it. Show it. Put it up online. Show me your fucking... Say their names. Right. You sit at a podium for 15 minutes saying your name. Say that chick's name. Say the chick's name who got her kids taken away. I bet you none of you know her fucking name. I bet you not one of you know that chick's name who got her kids taken away. No. But no, you know Sweet Daddy Coconut. You know Bullet. You know Sew Your Butthole Up. But you don't know that poor girl's name. Because you're all a bunch of assholes for just believing what you fucking hear. What's that poor girl's name? You don't know that poor girl's name. But poor her, she got her kid taken away because she's a juggalo. So you've heard. Because you believe every fucking thing you hear. I'm so tired of you hearing everything you hear and you believe it. Well, how many times we gotta tell you think for yourself?
One final thing that I want to mention about this before we get into the next news segment, and this is something that we did not post on Faygoluvers.net, is that Isham actually called Twiztid out, stating that they were actually there when they recorded that Supervillain song, and at the very beginning of the song, you actually hear Monoxide pretending to be a gay person in the song. Oh shit.
Somebody tell me what the fuck is going on. I can't believe what I see. I can't explain to my kids what's on TV.
So, going along with the last news segment, sort of, we have the audio from the October 11th hearing about the Juggalo gang label, the FBI's classifying Juggalos as a gang. We're not 100% sure if it's the same judge that heard the case last time, but they definitely took a similar approach. It starts off with Judge Cole sounding completely dismissive of the case, but if you actually listen to the full audio, you'll see that he's kind of playing both sides of the argument just to see how they respond. The audio is 30 minutes long, but I've cut it down just like the last segment with the brunch and bake. That was about 25 minutes long. This is about 33 minutes long. I've cut it down to about 7 minutes to try and just kind of get the best points in there. If you want to hear the whole 30-minute long interview, hit up the link in the show notes or check out what I've put together right now.
This is plaintiff's appeal of the district court's dismissal of their complaint stating constitutional and procedural claims under the Administrative Procedures Act. The dispute centers on defendant's decision to designate juggalos, the tough-talking, sometimes vulgar, oftentimes rambunctious fans of the musical group Insane Clown Posse. The government designated this group a hybrid criminal gang. The impact of this case goes beyond this self-described group of misfits and outcasts. If the government's decision to brand a music fan group as a criminal gang is outside the scope of judicial review under the APA, despite allegations of reputational harms and stigma resulting in unwarranted stops and searches, adverse employment decisions, and interference with contractual relationships, and allegations that the designation causes juggalos to choose between their free expression and association's rights, then the path is cleared for similar agency action to be transformed into a weapon targeting speech and disfavored groups by the party in power.
Can one bring defamation, slander, etc. against government officials?
The focus of this claim is the government's designation of the juggalos as
the word designation, in a sense, may be the crux of the case. That is, they wrote some words in a report. That is, there is not a statutory basis like a no-fly list, let's say, where if the government does X, then this happens to you, right? They simply wrote this in one report in 2011.
I think there's more to it than that.
Okay. How so?
What we have a statute that established the National Gang Information Center and directed the Department of Justice and the FBI to partner essentially with state and local law enforcement in anti-gang enforcement activities. And part of the charge given to the agencies was to prepare a biennial report to Congress that indicated gang activity.
Is it biennial? And that is, was the statute amended? The statute I looked at said they would submit an annual report. Is that the same report that this is?
That is the same report this is. It has been issued, in fact, on a biennial basis.
And the juggalos are not included in the later ones, is that correct?
The juggalos are not, but I don't think that changes the effect that they were included in the first report, or the 2011
so
report.
Is it the legal claim? Obviously you don't represent them, but any group included in this report, say the Peckerwoods in Alaska, who are in the report, would have the same ability to bring a suit?
If they are able to allege the constitutional injuries that the juggalos have alleged that were credited by the previous panel who considered the standing case, if they are able to meet that constitutional standing requirement and demonstrate that
which is simply to claim that something happened to one of your members by somebody, not even a public official, because
it's more nuanced than that, and it's also less of an A cause B situation. What we have here is we have a designation by a government agency identifying certain type of conduct as being criminal. Basically, being a juggalo is being a member of a criminal gang.
Well, no, I mean, they say that juggalos are engaged in some crimes, not that being a juggalo is criminal. Go ahead.
They don't provide a rational basis for distinguishing between good juggalos and bad juggalos.
Well, that's a different thing.
We have the government giving a warning about conduct to the juggalos, characterizing it as criminal.
Not directed to them. I mean, they're not the intended audience of this document that designated them?
Well, I think that in this case, the fact that the document in this case is a public document. The National Gang Information Center publishes information that is both confidential to law enforcement and public. And so the report that we've been dealing with is the public representation of the designation.
That's probably not too important anyway, but in the time you have, I mean, I guess I'm struggling with, are the consequences here really direct?
The second case I would mention is a case.
What exactly are the criminal penalties warned of in your situation?
I think they're just broadly warned of the fact that being a member of the Juggalos and expressing yourself as a Juggalo and associating yourself as a Juggalo puts you at risk of the conclusion that you are engaging in criminal activity or are about to engage in criminal activity. And if you want to avoid that conclusion, then you need to not engage in that kind of expression and not engage with those kinds of people. The Department of Justice and FBI concluded that being a Juggalo, being an active Juggalo constitutes some form of criminal gang activity. As a result, we've seen, and the prior panel recognized that Juggalos have been impacted in very real ways in their day-to-day activities. Interference with contractual relationships, interference with employment relationships, unwarranted stops. Those were the direct consequences of law enforcement acting in concert, law enforcement acting in partnership to thwart supposed gang activity. And so they do have legal consequences. They've experienced real legal consequences. And the designation itself...
Getting pulled over for an hour, a legal consequence. I'm not underestimating or, minimizing the sort of hassle and how one might be offended by it. But how is that, quote, a legal consequence?
Because the alternative to being pulled over is to not engage in your free expression as a Juggalo and to not associate as a Juggalo. How do you avoid being pulled over? You don't put a hatchet man on your truck. How do you not avoid attracting attention you don't want? You don't have a hatchet man.
So the chill, in your view, is a legal consequence?
It is very much a part of the legal consequence, which expresses itself in these variety of very direct and tangible harms. And the point being is that this was all done in partnership. The gang designation...
I think you answered my question.
Excuse me. Thank you.
Okay.
Any further questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Case will be submitted. Clerk, we call the next case.
Our homie Marz was recently interviewed by Justin Sarachik over at Rapzilla.com. That's Marz with a Z. The article/interview goes over Marz's past, including being born in Yugoslavia to a Croatian Catholic mother and a Bosnian Muslim father. They speak on Marz moving to Chicago as a child and witnessing all the gangs that existed in the area and how he was initiated at a very young age. A little while later, after reading the Satanic Bible and discovering voodoo dolls, sacrificed chickens, and a dog with its head cut off by the train tracks, Marz became interested in witchcraft and goes into detail about how gangs and witchcraft can go hand in hand in Chicago. Honestly, if you have no idea who Marz is, check out this article anyways, because Marz has a very, very interesting past, ninjas, and it's definitely worth looking into. This is actually only part 1 of the interview. I said we're going to post part 2 once it's up. Part 2 and 3 are up right now, so I'm going to see if I can just post the links right to the articles in the show notes. After that, I'll make sure to get them posted up on Faygoluvers.net. So check out Faygoluvers.net. They're probably up there right now if you're listening to this. If not, hit up the link in the show notes.
You know, killer, you studio perps. You a slave and your master say, write me some garbage for garbage, and that's how it works.
This Ninja Atrocious hit us up because while he was loading up some new tunes via Apple Music, he noticed that the M&E album Year of the Sword showed up in newly added releases. Hell yeah. While there was only one track that you can hear a preview of, it does reveal the entire track list for the highly anticipated collaborative album on M&E. If you're interested, you can hit up the link in the show notes and see the entire track list. But check it out. They just have matchups like with Gorilla Voltage and Jamie Madrox, G-Mo Ski and Mr. Grey, Madrox and Young Wicked, G-Mo Ski, King Gordy and Madrox, King Gordy and Boondocks track, the ROC, Mr. Grey, Monoxide, Blaze, and King Gordy, the ROC, Lex the Hexmaster and Clockwork, shit like that. Man, shit is going to be fucking fresh. Hit up the link in the show notes to see that track list. Also, the pre-order bundles for that album have also been announced. They're up right now over at twistedshop.com. There's 4 different pre-order bundles to choose from. They range anywhere from $10 to $150. Holy shit. They have the CD, posters, and a jersey. Go over, check that shit out, select your bundle, pick that shit up.
Jump out of bed in a head full of grape nuts. Eat them quick or they soggy and that sucks. Trying to find a clean...
Juggalos, it is with great honor and respect that we get to cover this very dope news story here at Faygoluvers.net. Scotty D was contacted by a friend of his whose co-worker knew someone at the San Antonio stop of the Great Malenko Tour. During the show, something happened with a Juggalo in attendance, and another Juggalo sprung into action and essentially saved this ninja's life. Scotty was given the contact info for this Juggalo hero named James Z, aka Hillbilly James, and he told us exactly what happened. Check it out. He says, "So I was at the Great Malenko show at Alamo City Music Hall, and we were all having a great time chilling with the fam. About halfway through the ICP set, a guy was carried out of the crowd. Out of instinct, for some reason, I helped carry him outside because that's what fam does. When we got him outside, some chick checked if he was breathing, and he wasn't. I don't know CPR at all, but something just told me I had to help this kid. I don't know who he is, but I would like to get in contact with him if he sees this. I started what I thought was CPR for what I've seen in my life. I did chest compressions, then gave him mouth to mouth. That's when he came to. This guy fell out and stopped breathing 3 times on us. Seems I was the only one willing to help him though. I stayed with him till the ambulance arrived and they hauled him off. The good thing is that this guy woke up to see another day. Hillbilly James." Holy fucking shit, Ninja. Wow. Much props to you, James, for the quick thinking and action. Because of you, this ninja, it gets to breathe another day, gets to live another day. So you are truly a fucking hero, homie. If anyone knows the Juggalo that James saved, please hit us up, staff at Faygoluvers.net. Hit up the link in the show notes to see this story, ninjas. Check this out, ninjas. That ninja's 6-digit hit me up to let me know that he was just signed to ABK's record label, Native World Inc. as a solo act. Hell yeah. Not only that, he'll be dropping an EP on the label this January, so very dope. Props to you, 6-digit. For you ninjas wondering about his status with MBK, My Brother's Keeper, who have appeared on this podcast, by the way, no worries. He's still a part of the group, and they're still going to be dropping their LP. However, it has been pushed back a little bit. Once again, props to you, 6-digit.
Grab a bottle and shook it, then hook it. Can you see where I put it? We gon' hook it. Grab a bottle and shook it. This is chemistry class. You better act like you took it. Where is my mind?
Lord, cocaine, heroin in my veins. Shoot my drummer from the everybody right upstairs.
So check it out. We haven't really considered a brand new music video as news on the podcast since the first few episodes of the podcast, but this is Lars, Last American Rockstar's first official music video, so check it out. The self-titled track, Lars, features Bizarre and King Gordy doing every drug imaginable backstage before one of their shows, and then rapping about the negative effects of it, i.e. worshipping Satan, missing your daughter's graduation, etc. You can check out the press release by hitting up the link in the show notes. Also, there is a link to the video through that link. Hit that up to see the brand new video. Shit is very dope and very not safe for work. Also, check out the article because it's a very interesting read. Alright, ninjas, we are going to get into our interview with Punk Rock Juggalo of Faygoluvers.net. We're going to get into a commercial break, and then we're going to get into our interview with 1031. Stick around.
And said, fuck my daughter's graduation. Nigga, I'm Miles Davis. Yeah. Fuck it. Fuck it. Lord, cocaine, heroin in my veins. Shoot my drummer from the everybody right upstairs. I put a 12-gauge shotgun to my vest. Hey, I'ma see like Queen. Die.
I am here with Punk Rock Juggalo of Faygoluvers.net, PRJ. Thank you for joining us on this very special Halloween episode of the Faygoluvers Podcast.
Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm doing excellent, man, in the Halloween spirit. So, do you have any plans for Halloween?
Honestly, outside of taking my children out, because I'm a father of two, I really don't have nothing planned. I'm just going to take them trick-or-treating and enjoy a quiet night, hopefully.
You know what, homie? I actually got asked to, host a video thing for an Edgar Allan Poe thing here in my town, and I had to turn it down for that exact reason. I had to bring my little girl out trick-or-treating.
The joys of parenthood sometimes get in the way of being able to do some stuff.
Right. So what about horror movies, homie? I know you're a fan of, the horror music like I am, so you gotta be a fan of horror movies. Any recommendations this holiday season?
Honestly, that's the tricky part, is I'm not really a horror movies fan.
Really?
I watch some of them, but I've never been a big, giant, hardcore fan of them, which is kind of crazy since the music that I listen to is horror-based.
Right, specifically Kissing Candice and bands like that. I mean, they make themed albums on horror films, I think.
Yeah, most of their songs are based off of some horror film, whether it's Trolls or something like that. It's all based off, and they actually sample a lot of the sounds, too. Yeah, it's weird. I've never been a big fan of it.
Well, have you ever seen that movie, The Troll? I think it's called The Troll.
Yeah, there's I want to say there's three of them. My wife's a big, giant horror movie fan. My father was before he passed away. So I've watched them. I still watch horror movies. I'm just not too big into them, but I have seen all the Trolls movies. They're honestly probably some of the worst movies I've ever had to sit through.
Right. I know I've seen the first and second one. I didn't even know there was a third one.
I want to say there's a third one. Don't quote me on that, but I think there is a third one. They're absolutely horrible movies.
Oh, I totally agree. But you know what? They're those movies that are awesome to hang out with a few friends and just watch and make fun of, right?
Yeah, kind of what is it? Killer Clowns from Outer Space, case in point.
Right.
Cheesiest horror movie ever, but if I had to pick a horror movie I'd watch that every day of the week.
I hear you, homie. I like that movie. It was actually a little bit better done than I thought it was going to be, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, going into it, you're like, oh shit, it's going to be a little fucking B-rated fucking garbage film. Then it's okay, it's manageable.
Right,
we can use it. I can get through watching it.
I can tolerate it. Right, I hear you. What about Evil Dead type of movies? You ever watch any of those, or what's your opinion of those type of films?
I've watched the Evil Dead films. Like I said, I watch them. They're decent movies. There's some horror movies that, the Halloween series when Rob Zombie took it over, House of a Thousand Corpses, stuff like that. I've watched all the Jason movies, all the Freddy movies.
Oh shit!
I'm just not a fan of the genre. I physically watch them. It's just not something I'm hey, yeah, I'm obsessed with Freddy and Jason now. Growing up, my father's B-rated horror movies and B-rated science fiction. So everything from Godzilla from the 1950s Japan ones to something like Sharknado. My dad would have probably been up in arms over because he watches all those B-rated horror and science fiction movies.
Right.
So I've seen most of the movies. I'm just not the fan of them. I'm not gonna run out to the movie theaters when the next horror movie comes out, Paranormal Activities or Saw or something, but yay, and run to it. I'll watch them when my wife gets them, but...
Right, I hear you. So obviously, horror movies don't scare you then. You're not one of those type of ninjas.
No, I'm the type of person you could run right now and get away. Why are you running back? I'm yelling at people who are about to get killed. If you turn around and kept running and stopped worrying about what you dropped, you'd be free. You wouldn't be killed.
It's your best friends were just savagely murdered, but you're gonna go investigate that suspicious noise.
It's let me answer this phone call while the Scream dude's about to jump through the closet and stab me to death.
So speaking on Kissing Candice just a little bit, you are a hardcore Kissing Candice fan. I don't think that's any secret. What are some updates on Kissing Candice?
Yes, I am a hardcore fan. I don't know why. They've stuck to me. I like their music. Updates are for them is they actually signed to a new record label called Stay Sick, which is owned by the lead singer of Attila, Chris Franzilla. They're putting out a new EP called Safe Word on November 17th. That album currently is up for pre-order on the Stay Sick Merch Now website and iTunes and Amazon. And they put out a new video for Degeneration on YouTube and Facebook.
Oh, very dope. So check that out. I'm going to actually have some links in the show notes for ninjas to go and check that shit out.
Most people will hate it, but you know what? Hey, I'm a fan, so that's what I do. You know what I mean? Kind of like when ICP came up or Twiztid or any of it, we all used to post links or flyers and try to get other people into it, whether or not they liked it. That's the way I am with Kiss and Candice.
I think a lot of people that listen to this podcast can relate to that point of view.
Yeah, that's what it is. Like, hey, if you don't check them out, no big deal. If you check them out and you like them, awesome. If you check them out and hate them, at least you checked them out.
Right. So I want to ask about 1031 because we got them coming up on the podcast as well. What's your opinion of them ninjas?
Those ninjas, I gotta say, their stage show with the black lights is, like, awesome. Like, I know everybody wants to, like, say, oh, Mushroomhead and all the black lights, but they're some of the most down-to-earth dudes that I've ever personally met. Like, I've hung out with them a few times. In New York, there's a 607 gathering for the past couple of years. They've performed there, and we've hung out, we've chatted. Their music's good. They're up and coming. They're still working, and they have a dope stage show.
Right. Well, just from me posting on Faygoluvers about them, I can say that they've been getting doper and doper. Like that new music video they put out with whoever it was from Mushroomhead. Church from Mushroomhead.
It was Church from Mushroomhead. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, the progression they've made, even since I first heard of them, which was like a couple years ago, to now, it's almost like a totally different band. Their performances stepped it up. The way they present themselves with all the black light makeup and face paint or whatever you want to call it. Their outfits, everything stepped up. Their skill level stepped up. Their rhymes have stepped up. Production, everything, like, they're working their way up. You know, some underground rappers, groups, they just find a niche and they stay and they know, like, dude, you still sound amateur. These cats have, like, started as the amateur but have gone up to where it's like, holy shit, this is, like, straight up professional level.
Yeah, man, I 100% agree with that, man. For people listening to this, in like 10 minutes, you're going to be hearing an interview with them cats as well. Punk Rock Juggalo. Any final words before we take off here?
Happy Halloween. Enjoy the 4th Joker's card of the second deck when it's revealed.
Yeah.
And I'll be around.
Hey, man, just really quickly before we take off, can I just get a really quick speculation on that 4th Joker's card, or do you have any?
I think it's going to be something with that whole Red Fred thing. I don't really know. All I'm hoping is it's more to the wicked rhymes. Don't get me wrong, I'm not hating on any of their past music because I'm an ICP fan no matter what. Like, I like their music, but I hope it's more wicked rhymes, kind of like Shaggy's latest one, instead of the churchy, praying, where's God, we love you, Jesus type music.
Right, I hear you, man. Like, specifically that Fogging Up the Windows track. I hope the whole album sounds kind of similar to that song. I don't know if you agree with that or not.
Yeah, I do. It just, like I said, I just hope they, even if it's not necessarily the wicked rap, horrorcore stuff, just move away from the preachiness of it, because we all get it. Some are religious, some are not.
Right.
Like Faygoluvers, most of us are not. Some are religious. But we don't need to hear that. We get it. We get it after 5-6 tracks. Okay, you're godly. That's what you're leaning to. The Dark Carnival is God. At the end of the day, we also want to hear, like, get away from church.
Right. Hi. Thank you so much, Punk Rock Juggalo.
You're welcome.
Psychopathic Records and Insane Clown Posse bring you Hollow Wicked 17. It's going down October 31st, 2017, all day and all night, from 2 p.m. to 2 a.m. at the Russell Industrial Center in Detroit, Michigan. That's right, it's Hollow Wicked like you've never seen, featuring 4 full rooms of terror in a vast, cavernous, menacing, authentic Detroit Juggalo ghetto funhouse that's haunted for real. But don't be scared, rich little bitch boy. We got 4 chambers of terror for your ass. In chamber number 1, the Blood Ballroom, we got concerts popping off all fucking night. Witness performances by Insane Clown Posse, Vanilla Ice, Isha, Anybody Killer, Light, Big Hoodoo, Ouija, Zug Island, Misery and the Spanish Side, Motown Rage, and Project Boy. Also, in between sets, get down to the sounds of devastating DJs such as Mikey Clark, DJ Clay, DJ Carlito, and Kuma. And don't forget to give some love to your MC Ghost for the evening, Rude Boy, KG Kevin Gill, and Jump Steady. Next up, in chamber number 2, we got the Doom, featuring JCW's Bath of Blood, Juggalo, Gladiatorial Combat. And later on that night, Psychopathic's 17 Moonbeams After Party. And if that wasn't enough, motherfucker, try chamber number 3, the Scarier Area, with Dark Carnival Games, featuring an Into the Echo Side Heads Up tournament with a fat prize for that ass. Also, check out the Open Gaming Area, featuring all Dark Carnival games and ninjas on hand to demo your favorite DCG games. Or hit the fucking hoops with the Basketball Tournament, featuring celebrity ghosts. Get dunked on, son. And last but not least, it's the 4th and final chamber of madness, the Fearsome Fear, your non-stop spot for a horror movie marathon like you wouldn't believe. Kick back with the homies and let these timeless horror movies scare the shit out of you. That's right, ninjas. It's an all-day event, cause we 17 and it ain't nothing gonna stop this beating. It's going down all fucking day and all night on Hollow Wicked Halloween. Enter the 4 chambers of death and see who will survive. It's Hollow Wicked 17, like you've never seen, bitch. Get your tickets now and join us October 31st at Russell Industrial Center in Detroit.
Certain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before, so that now, to the still beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. Some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. That is it, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," said I, or "Madame, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more. Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." And I whispered, and echo murmured back the word, "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning. Soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereart is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, In there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with the mane of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou, I said, art sure no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raving, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore. Quoth the raven, nevermore.
This the real deal. When you got your mama told you not to fuck with, quick to punk a bitch out, dip out, let them bleed out on the flow. See now what I gotta be to feed y'all. We go.
Welcome back to the Faygoluvers Podcast. I am here with the infamous 1031. I'm joined by Kaos, ZigZag, and Sadiztic. How are you, ninjas?
What up? I'm good, man. I'm good, really good. What up, though? Shout out Faygoluvers.
Hell yeah, homie. Thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast for our Halloween episode of the podcast. So to start, can y'all just kind of individually, for the fans who might not know, individually introduce yourselves?
But yeah, this is Kaos, man, the one and only 1031, 517, Adrian, Michigan, representing.
ZigZag, a.k.a. Mr. Wasteland, representing 1031 out of Adrian, Michigan.
Oh, it's Sadistic, coming out of Toledo, missing Michigan. Loving my Toledo fans, though, too. Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop. Right off the bat, I want to ask, what is 1031 all about? What does your music stand for? What do you guys do?
As you can see, man, every day is Halloween. It's a motto we live by, and we want everybody to know that Halloween represents the one day of the year that you can be anything that you want to be. We don't want to limit it to one out of the year, man. We want to make sure that you're everything that you want to be every day of the year for the rest of your life. We really live by that.
Hell yeah. Y'all kind of keep that in the back of your mind when recording music then? That Halloween concept?
That's kind of every day, man.
Right.
It definitely carries over into the recording, though. We definitely put our heart and souls into everything we write.
Right. So that's obviously where that name came from then, the 1031 name.
Yes, sir. It's a part of it. It's definitely a part of it.
The formation of the group. How was it that y'all originally came together?
The majority of us have known each other for years and years. Actually, all of us, besides our newly added DJ, we've only known him for, I don't know, about 5 years or so. But the rest of us have been down with each other for at least 15, almost 20 years for some of us. The music has always been something that we've had in common. Once it was me, Drew, and Kaos. We were living in a buddy's basement. We just kind of started playing around with shit. He had, a cheap little home studio. So we just started cranking out cover songs and bullshit little one verse each type things until we realized that it was something that we wanted to do. And then it just kind of formed from there. I mean, there was a long hiatus. We ended up picking back up in about late 2009, early 2010. And then from there, it's just kind of morphed and mutated into what it is now.
So y'all always have that moniker, the 1031 moniker, or was that something that just came more recently?
Originally, we went by Sadistic Assassins. We got one show out with that name. It was a name that Kaos and I had created years and years ago. It didn't fit. There was a couple shows where people didn't want to book us on it with a name like that. So we just basically put some thought into it. Now, what fits better? What more suits us? I mean, not only as individuals, but what does our music say? We just put our heads together and came down to the very first show that we ever did. We were young, still living in that basement. It was a show on Halloween. It was that night that we kind of decided, like, this is for us. Like, this is what we are here to do. So we kind of just kicked back to that and we're just like, let's take it back to the beginning, man. Like, we started on 1031. That was when, everything came about. We've always had obsession, infatuation with Halloween. So it all just kind of made sense. 2010, we changed the name to 1031 and never looked back.
Right, and now here we are. So I want to ask you guys about your relationship with Mushroomhead. Y'all are playing the Halloween show on the 28th in Cleveland with them. And y'all also had the guitarists featured on that new release. Can y'all tell me about the relationship with them?
Oh, they're great guys, man. They've shown us nothing but love since the first couple shows we did. The first show we did with them was last December at Realm in Toledo. They definitely made us aware that they had noticed us that night. And, you know, it came to our attention a couple weeks ago, or a couple weeks after that, they got in contact with our manager, Lisa. You know, she lives in Cleveland, so she's been a Mushroomhead fan for a long time. Once they got into contact with each other, Church showed us that he just really was into what we were doing, and it matched what we wanted to do with the direction we were going with that album. Kind of a perfect fit. We actually have him on 2 tracks on the album, and a 3rd track that's fine. And he actually put a lot of good work for us in on that CD.
Dope. And that was him in the Wrath music video?
That is. He actually opted to go with a mask that he made himself to make it a little more personal for us, which was kind of cool. But that's definitely him in the video.
Where did the concept for that music video actually come from? Who came up with the idea for that?
We all did, man. It was actually something that kind of came about on the fly. We kind of sat around and we were bouncing ideas back and forth. You know, we knew we wanted to make a video for it. We were kind of bouncing ideas off each other. One of us would come up with something like, what if we were to do an outside shot and we were to have like this kind of effect on it, and we were to really like represent that we really wanted to represent the word rat in every way, shape, or form, and every sense of the word. We wanted it to just be pure devastation. There was so many ideas and so many things that was getting thrown around. We were sitting around with Church. It was something that just kind of popped up, and he threw it out there, and it was like, what if we were to make the rat like the human form? What if we were to kind of make that into, you know, look like it's dark and it's dreary, you know, when it just so happened that it was raining outside. So those who have seen the Rat video, that is what the female represents. Inside the Rat video was she is the Rat. She is actually looking for us throughout the day, you know, and that's why you see her walking throughout the video, you know, climbing the fence and she's searching. So it's pretty much like you see us in the darkness and you see us glowing. That's what we are, you know, we're like the apocalypse. We are everything that takes place after that. It was just something that kind of came together, man, and when it unfolded and the ideas came by, it took off, and that's how it happened, man. It ended up being magic.
Right, yeah, it was very dope, very well done. I want to ask if you guys can elaborate a little bit on the on your old DJ, Kane, leaving the group.
It really wasn't anything like major. It just kind of came down to creative differences, really. He's been friends with us for a couple of years now. Me and him have been friends for about a decade and a half, give or take. The direction we were going in, he seemed like the perfect fit, and I'd have to say that what he did for us, you know, was phenomenal. We had a great time with it, but it got to a point where the direction he wanted to go and the way we were looking to go was just kind of different, and just kind of came about. It really happened over the course of a few hours. We wish him the best. He wishes us the best. Just different directions.
I want to ask you ninjas about Rude Boy, because Rude Boy seems to have mad love for you guys. How did you originally get hooked up with him?
It was crazy how it all came about, man. It was actually my 30th birthday 3 years ago. I found him on Facebook and seen that he was hosting things and he was doing that kind of thing. I always thought being an old school juggalo, man, one of the originals, how dope would that be to get the Rude Boy Rudy Hill, you know? So I reached out to him and seen if he wanted to host my 30th birthday bash, and he was all for it, man. You know, he was like, yeah, me and DJ Carlito can come out. DJ Carlito could spin and I'll host. It would be a great night, man. And we worked out that business tip. You know, what was cool about it is he had kind of known about us a little bit. He was like, for you, man, you know, I know you're an OG. You guys have been doing this for a minute. I'll donate my time. Just take care of me, maybe give me some drinks, you know, whatever. But I'll donate my time to you because I'm a fan of yours as well as you being a fan of ours. So I was like, cool, you know, this is our first interaction. I didn't know that he had knew about it. I thought that was really cool, man. On the way, when the day come, we had stayed in contact the whole time. The day came for the actual event. His car ended up breaking down on the highway on his way to the show. Yeah, so they ended up having to get it towed back to Detroit. He was like halfway in between Detroit and Toledo, and he ended up having to get it towed back to Detroit, and it was just really stale, man. He felt really bad that he couldn't make it, that he couldn't fulfill that obligation. So he ended up hitting us up not too long after that and was like, look, man, I do a birthday bash in my area every year. feel real bad about not being able to come and do the event. So I want you guys to come and perform at my birthday bash. There's some special guests that show up every year, and it's a fun-filled party, you know, family, friends. Some people from the company come through, and we have a good time. We went out to his birthday bash. It was the first time we had ever really met face-to-face. He gave an intro. It was the first time he had seen us perform, and we went out there and we did our thing, man. And Psychopathic was in the house, J-Web, and some heavy hitters, man. So everybody rocked. You know, we rocked the house like we always do. When we got off that stage, he was blown away. That was the first thing he said, is that was something that he didn't know what to expect. He knew to expect something good, but we went above and beyond all expectations. That was the beginning of a beautiful thing. Not too long after that, he approached us. We had a sit-down meeting. He actually came to Adrian's, and we had a sit-down meeting, and he told us that he had felt something when he seen us perform. He knew right then and there that he felt something that he hadn't felt in a long time. Something that a lot of people don't really know is that he used to manage somewhere around 18 years ago. He used to manage some artists, and he used to help some artists as they were coming up. One of the names that he had told us that he had helped Isham back in the day coming up when Isham was just coming through, and he had did some things with Isham, and he had felt something in us that he hadn't felt in a long time since back in the day with Isham and Lavelle, and he asked us if he could represent us, if he could do some management things for us. Of course, you know, we're going to say yes, that's the Rude Boy.
Right.
Not only did he come on as doing the management aspect of it, it got really personal. We had did some business with him with his wrestling thing. We brought that to the town, and it formed a bond so much closer than just business. It was a brotherhood. Ruby's a brother for life.
And he's still helping you ninjas out to this day?
So he's definitely representing, you know, he's definitely showing us a lot of love. Due to his health conditions, while he was getting better, we couldn't stop and we couldn't stand still. His former manager, he introduced us to her, Lisa Penny-Tillman. She was actually doing management things for him at the time. And we all had a sit-down meeting, and we just decided that that would probably be, if she wanted to come on and help us and represent us, that would be the best thing for everybody, because he knows that she could do great things for us, and he knows the direction that we were going in. We just all made that happen that night. We sat down, and again, we haven't looked back since.
I just want to pick the mind of 1031 a little bit, because this is the Halloween episode of the Faygoluvers Podcast. I just kind of want to get all your individual opinions. What was that one bomb-ass Halloween costume that you can still remember to this day that you wore as a kid?
Oh, shit.
I went as Brandon Lee in The Crow. I think I went as him for like 4 years or some shit like that. I repeated that costume several times.
Very dope.
That and Batman.
Oh, even doper.
I think with me, man, it was when I was a kid. I grew up with a single mother, and my mom would always try to do everything that we could. She was a thrift shopper, and I remember one time she was thrift shopping, man, and I think I was like maybe 4 or 5 years old. She had found some of the Michael Jackson beater jackets at the charities, man, and the charities was like, it's a place that you can go for free clothes. People who are on government assistance and things like that can go and you can do like free shopping, clothes shopping. And so she was at the charities and she was looking for some stuff. She found me some Michael Jackson beater jackets. And what's cool is there was a pair. It was the red one and the black one. And it had the zippers everywhere, you know what I'm saying? They were too small for me. I've always been a hefty dude. So they was too small for me, but it didn't stop me from wearing the motherfuckers every time I turned around. You know, I was like a fat Michael Jackson for a long time, man. Halloween, I was a fat Michael Jackson kid. That was dope, man, to wear the Michael Jackson beater jackets all the time.
Oh, shit. Very dope. Are we missing somebody?
Oh, I don't even know how to answer that, man. I go so crazy with my Halloween costume, especially when I was younger. High school, I definitely had a run of Manson costumes. Probably like 5 years in a row, I went into different eras of Marilyn Manson. Before that, I think like Ziggy, I did Crow like 3 years in a row, and then Smells Like Children came out, and I was just like, oh man, that Child Snatcher costume is so cool. So I like made this really elaborate Manson costume out of like, you know, one of those tall striped bucket hats that you get at the fair.
Right.
One of those Cat in the Hat looking motherfuckers. I made Smells Like Children, like Child Snatcher costume out of that and a bunch of weird Hot Topic-esque clothes. Of course, Hot Topic wasn't out yet then, but it was like that kind of shit. And then, I don't know, I ran that for like 4 years straight, I think.
Very dope. Just back onto the music at 1031. If y'all could have the chance to work or to collab with one artist, who would that artist be?
Alive or dead?
I usually say dead or alive, yeah.
For me personally, it'll be Deadman Davis from Korn.
Oh,
That's
very dope.
Bucket list.
Right.
I think for me, Old Dirty Bastard, man.
ODB, very dope.
ODB for me would definitely be the huge one for me.
Dope. So we got Jonathan Davis and ODB. Kind of two very different choices.
Well, I'm going to flip you on your head because for me it's like a tie between Johnny Cash and Marilyn Manson.
Oh, also two very different choices too. Wow.
Yeah, but I listen to a very wide spectrum of music. I mean, we all really do.
Right.
Johnny Cash is
I can see that 1031 track featuring ODB and Johnny Cash. That would be dope.
That would be really good. If Johnny Cash sample one foot, man, yeah, with ODB verse on there, that shit would be sick.
There's an idea to brainstorm on.
I got a bonus question here. Scotty D specifically wanted me to ask you all this question. What do you hate most about your manager, Lisa?
Nothing. She is the best.
Thing. Maybe that she lives an hour and a half away. I guess if I had to pick something.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good answer, man. Very good, honest answer. Alright, I got one final question for you ninjas before we take off here. And I ask this question every episode of the podcast. Since I got 3 of you here, I guess I'm just going to get each of you to pick one CD. If y'all were stranded on a deserted island with a Discman and you could have one CD each, what CD do you got with you?
These are always so hard. I know, right? My answer is always the same, so I guess I'll go first, because nothing has really ever come out that's knocked it out of my favorite album position, and that's probably Antichrist Superstar. I mean, it's one of those albums for me that never really dies out with time. Like, it's still good. To me, it's still his best album. I think it's one of the more creative albums of our generation. I've purchased it like 15 times. Definitely my favorite album.
Shit. I think for me, like, my answer changes all the time. I think my answer really changes based on what I'm listening to at the moment, or like what I'm really into at the moment. Honestly, lately, I had the chance of working with these cats quite a few years ago, man, but lately I've really been listening to I've listened to it a lot, but I've been listening to it a lot more lately, is Dark Half, man, the Graveyard Blues album.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to work with these guys, you know, on a couple different occasions. Rest in peace to Gino, man. This album is just, to me, it's a personal favorite because of all the tracks on there that are so up and down. There's so many different emotions going through this album, and it's something that I can honestly listen to from front to back. I would not want to skip a track. It's just so dope, man. Dark Half are really talented cats. Damien and Gino both are just, I can't even put it into words, man. So as of right now, that would be my answer.
Very dope.
To not think about it too much, I would just say probably Korn's Follow the Leader. I've been a huge Korn fan for as long as I can remember. And it was like smack dab in the middle of their really heavy shit towards their more experimental shit. That album just has so many different fucking sounds on it, and it's got a decent amount of hip-hop infused into it, and that's one that I've never, I mean, no Korn album I don't think I've gotten tired of, but that's always been tip-top. So, yeah, I guess I would go with that one.
Right. I gotta agree with you on that, homie, man. Follow the Leader and Issues are like the two, yeah. Alright, guys. I appreciate you guys coming on and chatting with me. Before we take off here, is there anything that you'd like to promote? Any final words for the fans?
For this month of October, man, we're bouncing around a little bit. On the 27th, we travel to New Haven, Indiana, Carl's Tavern in New Haven. We're going to be there headlining the night. October 28th with Mushroomhead, the world-famous Halloween show at the Cleveland Agora. And October 30th, we're doing Fright Fest in Detroit with Twiztid. So it's going to be a great month for us, man. And we just want to make sure that everybody knows about the shows coming up and comes out and checks us out and buys some merch, buys some albums, supports us to the fullest, man, because we support y'all. We love y'all. A huge shout out to our manager, Lisa. Brother Dirty Drew couldn't be here in the interview with us today, and our newly found DJ, DJ Freddy Krueger. You know, we wish you guys could be here, but shout out to everybody, Faygoluvers, for having us tonight. Everybody, all the fans, man, for supporting and listening and, you know, for making us what we are today. We got so much more to show you guys.
1031, thank you so much, Ninjas.
Thank you. Thank you, man.
What up, y'all? This is Violent J. And I'm Shaggy 2 Dope, and we're the infamous ICP Insane Clown Posse, and it's that spooky time of year, Jay. That's right. It's time for the wicked clowns to get holla wicked on that ass. So check us out in the booth as we bring the fright of the night to your chin. Ow!
I don't even know what that's supposed to be.
Yo! ICP all up on G4 right now. Insane Clown Posse representing Southwest Detroit, the Murder Men. That's right, my man's Bonner J. Shag's Too Dope. And right about now on Hip Hop Freestyle 101, my man's Bonner J. About to hit this shit right now. Kick it, dog. I come floating on a magic carpet with a fat sword. I'm Violent J of the Lotus Ward, the big genie. You can try to rub my lamp, I might float out and spike your ass like that. I bow to the pyramids, I do confide. The secrets of the carnival are deep inside. Disrespected and hocus pocus, I'll split your forehead and plant my lotus. You don't know what this killer's all about. I might sever your head off and fuck your mouth. Bells and chimes ring 17 times. Faceless souls act out like mimes. Pegasus cry as gargoyles take eyeballs from heads like skinless grapes. Even kings will fall to the floor and end up only knowing G4. Oh! And that's how ICP does in this motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? G4, hip-hop, motherfucker, straight up from Southwest Detroit. Wicked shit.
That's how we do.
From the Murder Mitten. Wicked shit, you're not forgetting. Wicked shit, head splitting. Wicked shit, wicked shit. Keep it wicked. Freestyle 101 G4. Psychopathic in the motherfucking hat. Get some hatchet in your life. Woo!
That's going to do it for this Halloween episode of the Faygoluvers Podcast. I want to thank all of you ninjas for tuning in. I want to send a big thank you and a big shout out over to my homies in 1031. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast, homies. It was unfortunate we couldn't get Dirty Drew on, but I will get that ninja on the podcast at some point. Mark my word. I want to send a big thank you over to my homie Punk Rock Juggalo. Much like Scotty D, who we're going to get on the podcast more and more. I wouldn't mind seeing Punk Rock Juggalo getting on the podcast more and more. Chad Carson, I wouldn't mind getting him on the podcast more and more. All them Faygoluvers ninjas. So much props to you, PRJ. Ninjas, Lex the Hexmasters, Beyond Redemption, and Lars Foul World mixtape are going to be dropping on Devil's Night and Halloween Day, respectively. The Lars Foul World mixtape has a pre-order up right now over at twistedshop.com with a track list. The mixtape does come with 7 tracks from Lars, Bizarre, and King Gordy. Hit up the link in the show notes to check that out. 5-star reviews. I actually have a couple 5-star reviews that I'm going to read to you ninjas this week, and I'm looking forward to reading these. Check it out. The first one is titled Informative, and it comes from Huffman21. He says, great podcast for underground horrorcore music fans. Quick and to the point. Props to you, Huffman21. I appreciate that, homie. The next one is titled Look Forward to It Constantly. It's from Ghetto Lay. Ghetto Lay says, this is one of those podcasts that when you refresh your iTunes menu, you hope to see something pop up. I feel like the quality of this is so great that most entertainment podcasts could take a huge lesson from FL Podcast. I'm down with the clown, but even if you're not, you'll find something here, and might learn something. Roscoe, you're killing it, sir. Keep following your passion. I appreciate that, homie. It's good to know that people actually look forward to hearing the podcast, and people are like, refreshing their iTunes hoping to see it. We drop it every 2 weeks, which might not be enough, but honestly, that's like, it's the perfect amount of time for me to be able to put one together with all the news and the interviews and all that good stuff, so. But yeah, props to you, Ghetto Lay. I appreciate that, homie. On the next episode of the podcast, dropping November 5th, we are going to have our homie, Ferris the Juggalo, the lawyer representing Juggalos in this case against the FBI. Tune in for that November 5th. Homies, I hope you enjoyed this Halloween episode of the Faygoluvers Podcast. Tune in next year around the same time of month. We're going to have another Halloween episode of the Faygoluvers Podcast. And once again, you'll probably be hearing The Raven by Intrinsic. Ninjas, until next time, this is your homie Roscoe, reminding you to keep an open mind. Have a happy Halloween.
Trip. Same team, same dream in their heads. Same gleam in their eyes. Beats bang in their minds. Supreme when they rhyme. No shit, y'all. Cruising, hitting the road, full speed. Me and the boys be coming to bring the noise. And 31 got some hype shit. The right kids on the mic tonight might fight the mosh pit. Ignite the flames, put your blunts up. Fuck the lames who claim that the underground suck. But the mainstream nuts, motherfuckers wanna dangle for. Coming out the mitten where the independent labels want it. We call the hometown the drip, cause we leaking on you motherfuckers. Most of y'all don't know this shit. But you finally got the coolest shit in the coldest set. We coming to your town looking for some gold to stack. Bunch of kids from the streets of the drill. Same team, same dream in their head. Same gleam in their eyes. Beats bang in their eyes. So supreme when they rock. Beats bang. In the darkness, they're the form entertaining. Motherfucker has nowhere to run. Feel the wrath, let it begin.
Always been about this, not about that. But we swing it for the fence like a ball bat. Can I get a witness for the sickness? All these dick-lipped little pricks act princess. Every time you wanna get inside of 16, fucking kiddies wanna talk about their codeine. Get a job, get a style, keep it going for a while. Hit a motherfucking child if I do see. Irresistible, the shit that we list is ballistic. Just a bunch of fucking freaks from the streets of the mitten. Kill another beat, we can kill a beast. If you please, let me run at these fake little G's. Mediocrity seems to be the norm now. Never will you ever see us bored. How over we be getting on the whole crowd. Put them lighters up if you hire junk with them lying fucks about to realize you ain't nothing but a fly-by-night. Sick of something talking, jump inside a foolish rhyme. Undeniably the vicious let the wounded die. Nigga, I'm rapping, yakking on the pad, man, Ziggy on the mic and I'm a lead, screaming out my name.
In the darkness, no escape. They're the form entertaining. Motherfucker has nowhere to run. Feel the wrath, let it begin.
Can you feel that? The earth shakes like a double bass that it out of your face. The Fab Five like the Legion of Doom, and we're bringing the boom like a gun to your waist. So don't come to me about the this and the that's and the ins and outs of our industry. Cause my team will go head to head with yours, and you can feel the fear of my enemies. We're crashing, we follow, we taking it all. We're setting examples that follow by y'all. The light in the darkness, but still you can't see. He's walking on oceans that open for me. Admired by plenty and hated by many. We welcome up any that think that they can. You call us the enemy since against man, but you are the enemy and we are the one.
Much I marveled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door. Bird or beast above the sculpted bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing further than he uttered, not a feather than he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. Then the bird said, Nevermore. Startled at his stillness, broken by reply so aptly spoken. Doubtless, said I, what it utters is only stock in store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore. But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then, upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grin ungainly, ghastly, gaunt and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking Nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing, to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining, on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press, nevermore. Then methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. Wretched, I cried, thy God hath lent thee, but these angels he has sent thee. Respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore, quoth the raven, Nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent, or whether tempest tossed their here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me I implore, quoth the raven, Nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden if, within the distant Aden, it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, quoth the raven, Nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend I sheeked up starting. Get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy beak from out my heart and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the raven, Nevermore. And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore.